Welcome to the Stone Soup Recovery Podcast. Your host, Adam and Sean, will talk about their lives and living in recovery.
Hello and welcome to Stone Soup Recovery Podcast. My name is Adam.
And I'm Sean.
On tonight's podcast, we're going to be talking about my adventures this week with my father. I've gone through some stuff this week that I'd like to share and talk about. And also, Sean has a bunch of information and tidbits for us tonight. And we'll start with her. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. It's Saturday afternoon, and we're just kind of having a lazy day around the Stone Soup House.
Stone Soup House Lazy Day.
And we have a beautiful fire going, so that'll warm us up here. And I've just been, reading things online and in books and like I do, and finding out little tidbits of information to share with everybody. So the first thing I have to talk about is we're going to talk about the sizes of alcohol. So like 14 grams of pure alcohol is equal to, okay? And then a 12-ounce beer. So that's one serving size. An 8-ounce bottle of malt liquor at 7% is the same as 14 grams of pure alcohol.
Wow.
So that's one serving. So a 12-ounce bottle of beer is the same as 14 grams of pure alcohol. An 8-ounce bottle of malt liquor, and now that's less than 12 ounces of beer. It's 8 ounces, so it's less, and it's at 7%, so it's more. So that's going to be more intoxicating faster, 5 ounces of wine at 12% alcohol is the same as 14 grams of pure alcohol, which is all the same size as one serving.
See, that's funny. One serving.
Yeah.
I would have counted like a serving for me is like 8 beers.
Yeah. No.
8 beers. Wine would have been a couple bottles at least.
Yeah. No. If you like weighed it out,
Right.
and then at a
That's
percentage, then that's per serving. And then like 1.5 ounces is considered a shot of 80 proof of any kind of alcohol, like being whiskey,
Right.
vodka, gin, is the same as 14 grams of pure alcohol.
That's interesting. So all those times I thought that I was just having a serving. I was.
No.
Yeah. I heard once that, people that aren't alcoholics, they'll have one beer and feel it. But I got to have 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's that compulsion to drink. And once I start, I can't stop.
Yeah. Well, there's a tolerance level there too. And then people like me who have had gastric bypass, alcohol hits us a lot faster than the normal person. So there are, I'm sure, variants of that. But that's just the general rule,
See, now,
drink for drink, this is what equals what.
with that information, if I was still in active addiction, I would have tricked my mind and I would have got that information, but like, okay, and I would have tried to measure it out and then be like, I'm not an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm. You would have been lying.
I would have been lying to myself, but that's the type of stuff that I did in active addiction.
Yeah.
There was a long period where I just denied I would drink. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm a heavy drinker.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met Pastor Steve, and everything changed for me. He found me in that dirty motel, sitting there drinking, and I don't know. It changed my life. He kept coming around shaking hands,
Mm-hmm.
and hi, I'm Pastor Steve, and he would do it like all the people in the motel. And so I'm sitting outside drinking and sitting in a chair, and he came up to me again. Hi, I'm Pastor Steve, and he shook my hand. And I said, how you doing? And he had some cheeseburgers, and he sat down and he said, you hungry? And I was at a point in my drinking where I couldn't keep food down.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I didn't want him to know that. So I said, yeah, I'll just save these for later. Thank you. And we started talking, and I don't know, the pain, the weight, the burden the denial, the self-lies, all those came out, and I had such a weight on my spirit. And I remember looking at Pastor Steve and telling him, Pastor, I just can't stop drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Will you help me? And that was the point. That was the turning point in my active addiction. And that was the turning point in my recovery. That pivotal moment,
Mm-hmm.
that one sentence changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
And Pastor Steve took me, and he was so kind, and he introduced me to Zach. And Zach helped me get to rehab. And he's part of, Pastor Steve and Zach, they're a big part of my journey. A huge part. So I don't know how we got off on that, but there's a little bit of information for you from me. What else do you got for us, Sean?
Well, I guess I was reading about, because we've been talking a lot about crimes and alcohol and how it's led all of you to prison and
It
jails,
has.
and it didn't that never happened to me. It could have easily if I would have gotten, if I would have passed the wrong cop at the right time.
Right.
I didn't drive a lot after I'd been drinking, but there were times when I did, and I can remember begging to God, please let me get home. So
Been there, done that, got the T-shirt.
yeah, so there were a few times when I crossed that line, but crimes that alcohol is a factor in these crimes that you may not have thought about, as well as drinking and driving, what we were just
Right.
discussing about, that's a big thing. Robbery, 15% of your robbery crimes have alcohol related to them,
Yep.
Same thing with sexual assault. 57% of sexual assaults
Wow.
are committed by offenders under the influence of alcohol.
That's a
That's
very
more
large,
than half.
That's a large number.
Yeah.
57%.
That's a
I'm
lot.
shocked by that number.
And also on the flip side of that, there is a lack of consent due to intoxication
Yes.
by the,
Yes. I've
the
I've
female.
not seen that happen, but I've heard of that happening.
Mm-hmm.
And the man got charged with rape.
Yeah, it happens, often enough. You read about it and see it. And,
It's horrible.
you're just left vulnerable as a female. You should not drink to the point where you're passed out around a group of men by any means, because especially if you don't know them, that's just a disaster waiting to happen.
Alcohol, active addiction, it's going to lead you there. It can lead you there.
Yeah.
And for some people, it has.
And I'm getting this information from, it's called alcoholrehabguide.org.
Okay.
And if you go to the website, it'll instantly pop up with one of their little chat things that, says, hi, are you interested in rehabilitation services?
Right.
Do you or anyone you know have a problem with alcohol? And I just said, no, thank you kindly. And they went away. But, there are people that will talk to you on that site too.
So you're not alone.
Mm-hmm. And it seemed like it was a person that was,
Not a bot.
it's hard to say. I don't know for
I know.
sure.
They're tricky, aren't they?
Yeah. But I like to feel that it was a real person.
Yeah. I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was a wonderful person on the other end of the line.
Mm-hmm. Aggravated assault can happen under the influence.
Yes, a lot. People get drunk and get in fights.
Yeah. And that in part is because of when you're drinking alcohol, you're irritable and your moods, you have a lot of mood swings. At least I do. I know,
Yeah.
If you're under the influence and somebody says something to you that makes you really mad and you already have a problem with your mood and you go off the handle and you hit them, you could potentially kill them and end up in prison the rest of your life over that one incident,
My journey in prison, actually, it's funny that you say that, because I met a guy, his name is Troy, and he got in a bar fight. He was drunk, and he stabbed a guy one time and got him right in the ribs, right through the heart, doing life in prison. And he said he barely remembers the incident because he was under the influence. And it destroyed his life.
Yeah.
I met other people in prison. This one guy, he was a young kid, and he was driving drunk and smashed into a car and killed a family.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And he got manslaughter.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of. I'm really glad that you brought this up because there's a lot of. There's a lot of links to criminal behavior and addiction. I have a friend of mine who's in prison right now. He's a heroin addict. The reason he's in prison is for armed robbery. And what he did is he went into a store and he seen a pile of money sitting on the counter in the office. He put his hand in his pocket, walked in like it was a gun, and he didn't have a gun. And the guy seen him. He took the money and pointed his finger at him through his pocket and said he was going to shoot him.
Mm-hmm.
So they believed that he had a gun. He got charged with armed robbery, 10 years, because he was dope sick and he needed money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so it does lead to criminality, and it leads to a lot of crime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 27% of aggravated assaults are committed by people under the influence of alcohol. That's a quarter, you know.
It seems like that number should be higher.
I think that's pretty high still.
Yeah, but
And then the last, and sadly enough, is child abuse. That happens a lot when people, when there's alcohol, you know, in the family. You know, there's a lot of sexual abuse, child abuse, all kinds of things.
That's terrible stuff.
And then it can lead into that child growing up and repeating the same behavior.
Yes.
And it can just keep going on from there. You know?
Alcohol ruins families. It ruins lives. It ruins spirits. It ruins people. Alcohol, addiction. Let's talk about addiction. Addiction, and you know, a lot of people say there's a difference between alcohol and addiction. No, there's not. Alcohol is the addiction. There's people, I've been to AA meetings that people have come and they were an addict and they started talking and people at the table were offended because they weren't alcoholics.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. You know what I mean? If you're struggling and you have an addiction, go to a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Just go to a meeting.
Or listen to our podcast.
You can find us at StoneSoupRecoveryPodcast.com and listen to all the episodes. StoneSoupRecoveryPodcast.com.
Mm-hmm. And there's another great one out there too.
217 Recovery Podcast, our friends.
Yes.
217 Recovery Podcast, they have over 700 episodes.
Yeah. They're the
lot
king
to
of
listen.
podcasts.
Well,
that's a lot.
Corey's going to hear that. Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, he's on top of it. That's for sure. You know, Corey's a good guy, and they got a great program over there at 217 Recovery, and we're glad that we're friends with them.
Yeah, some new things too I've been hearing coming through the wire is we may be having some recovery centers up here in northern Michigan, and that would be a great opportunity, you know, for a lot of people to get involved in that. So as we hear more about that, we'll share. But
we'll keep you posted.
That's about all I know right now.
Yeah, there's I know there's one going up in Oscoda, in the Oscoda area, and potentially one in Traverse City.
Mm-hmm.
And I know both of the gentlemen that are running the projects, and hopefully they got the grant money. Hopefully they can move forward now.
Yeah. It'd be great to have one here in Gaylord.
It'd be wonderful to have one in Gaylord.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have one in Alpena, and I've been to it, and it's nice. You go in there, and there's couches and sofas and TVs, and you can get on the computer, and it's a really nice experience, and it's a good asset for people in need.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a safe place to go, where it's a sober place, and it's people who are like-minded.
Yeah, lots of resources in a place like that.
Lots of resources. So that's I hope to get one in Gaylord. That would be very cool.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, we were talking. There's so many people that, you know, in history that have been alcoholics that you wouldn't even know about. So I'm going to run some by you. Tell me if you knew that they were alcoholics. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So what the most popular ones that I can think of or that I've researched were Stephen King. Did you know that he was an alcoholic?
I did not.
Yeah, I guess that when he filmed Cujo, one of his scary movies,
right?
He doesn't even really remember any of it because he was drunk.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah. But wow, what a smart man and
Brilliant.
Yeah, to be, have a problem with alcohol addiction. Leonard Nimoy from
Spock.
from Star Trek.
Wow. Wow. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Betty Ford.
Yeah.
And I think that one's pretty well known.
Yeah.
In 1978, there was an intervention with her family, and they put her into a recovery center, and she's been sober ever since. And then she opened up the Betty Ford Recovery Center
Yeah.
down near Detroit.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Buzz Aldrin.
Really?
Yeah, he was an astronaut, and he also had a problem with alcohol.
Alcohol and addiction knows no boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
social class. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Ernest Hemingway.
Oh, wow.
I wonder if that's why he had such interesting stories. They were kind of,
Perhaps.
mystical, like the old man in the sea.
Perhaps. He very well could
He could have been sitting out there in his boat, fishing and drinking, and all of a sudden he started catching fish. And because he's so drunk, he thinks the fish are talking to him. That's what the book's about.
You're right. Could be. It could be just, he got some bad alcohol.
Yeah.
It
makes you wonder what if that's where he got his inspirations from.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Taylor.
Wow.
She was a glamorous lady. And
yes, she's beautiful.
She had a problem with alcohol and husbands. Vincent van Gogh.
Okay, I can see that.
Samuel Jackson.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, he's
Sam Jackson.
Actor. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Orson Welles.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. See, that's the thing. It doesn't know any boundaries, does it?
No. Orson Welles wrote A Tale of Two Cities about the astronauts, or about the aliens coming and invading the world.
Yeah, he did. He's very famous.
People believed it. It was on the radio.
It was on the radio.
Uh-huh.
I remember hearing about that. That was many years ago.
Yeah. Another real fabulous, writer.
Yeah.
Let's see, who else? Mark Twain,
Wow.
another author. Queen Elizabeth, the mother Queen Elizabeth.
What?
She lived to be 101, and she drank every single day starting from the time she woke up. Yep.
Really?
Mm-hmm. That's the truth. Mickey Mantle.
Oh, yeah. He's a great ball player.
Yep. New York Yankees. He died of alcoholism. His liver gave out.
See, that's what happened to my grandmother. Her name was Helen, and she sat with my grandfather at the table for 40 years drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And sooner or later, it had to happen. And her liver,
yeah,
she went into cirrhosis, passed away. And 3 weeks later, my grandfather passed away. And I remember my dad telling me that he passed away from a broken heart.
Mm.
So I always found that touching.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I knew he loved her.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of your dad, you had a conversation, or you think you had a conversation with him this week.
Yeah. I've been researching my family history, and I did a genetic test. I guess I should start with that.
Mm-hmm.
And sent it into Ancestry and signed up for Ancestry and started looking at my family history.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen my father in many, many years, but I was able to find information on him through Ancestry.com.
Mm-hmm.
So it started making me think, he's elderly, he's 73 years old. Maybe it's time I should reach out to him and talk to him and try to figure out what's going on and see if we can. I just wanted to talk to him. He's my father. And so I ended up going to this website called Spokio,
Mm-hmm.
and I signed up for it. And you can find people, their addresses, phone number, the kind of car they drive, everything. So I actually found my dad's phone number in Virginia, and I sat on it for a while. I didn't reach out right away. I don't know why. I guess I was just collecting myself for the,
Mm-hmm.
because it could either go one way. He could either say, "Hello, son, welcome, and I love you," or he could say, "Go to hell." And I was preparing myself for that. So I make the text. I texted the number and I texted my information. Hello, I'm looking for Joe. My name is Adam. Because I tried to call the number and I got the voicemail.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew it was my father or stepmother's phone because the internet linked it to them. They were linked to that phone. So I didn't get a response right away. And then it said, "Who is this?" And I said, "My name is Adam Brothers. And I'm looking for Joe Brothers. He's my father." And it was very silent. And I sat there looking at that phone, waiting for a response. And then finally the response was, "Joe died last year." And I said, "Really?" I said, "When, where, and how?" Because I couldn't find an obituary. There was no obituary online. And I looked before I even contacted him. So I knew he was still alive. So I texted him again a couple days later, and I said, "Is this my dad? I'm looking for my dad. I want to talk to him." And the response was, "Please leave me alone. Joe died." So I took that information. I sat with him. I'm like, okay, I was just going to accept that. And then I thought about it. I'm like, that's not Celeste. That's not my stepmother. That's my father doing that. And that's my father telling me that he died, so I would leave him alone. And when the reality of that hit me, I wasn't prepared for that. I was prepared to go to hell or welcome. I was prepared for those two things. I didn't know there was a third option.
Mm-hmm.
And that third option broke my heart. Because I know it's my father, but he's pretending that he's dead. So I leave him alone. And he said, "You're not in the will." And I don't care about no damn will. My father has plenty of money. He's a man of means. I don't care about the money. I'm 50 years old, and I never asked him for anything in my life. My spirit was very heavy and burdened over this. And I sat with it, and I sat with it, and I said the Serenity prayer. And it brought me to the point of tears. And I had to be prepared for it, and I wasn't. I wasn't ready for that. But now I've had time to just accept it for what it is. And I realized that my mom always said that he was a coward and that he wouldn't face things. And me reaching out to him proved that. But in the end, it hurt. I'm still hurt over it, but I'm accepting it. I have to accept it. I'm not going to go drink over it. I'm not going to get, angry, because I can see it for what it is. And when I am able to see it for what it is, I actually have sympathy and pity for him. I pity him, and that's the heavy deal, because it could have been so much better. We could have had a relationship. We could have just talked. I could have told him about the podcast, but he just doesn't want that. He'd rather tell me that he's dead, and that's the point. That's the hurting point. 'Cause like I said, I was ready and prepared, but I wasn't prepared for that. How do you prepare for something like that? I don't know. The only thing I can say is that I'm standing on my own 2 feet, and that blow hurt. It did. That hurt me a lot. But because of recovery, I'm able to stand up and talk about it, and I'm able to express how I feel, and I'm able to stand. And my father, I don't know how he sees me or what he thinks or who he thinks that I am, but I'm a damn good man, and he's missed out on some awesome stuff, and it's his loss. But I still carry the burden and the weight of what he did, because that was just dirty business. He could have just told me to go to hell. He could have not responded at all. But he did with a lie. And I don't know. I forgive him. I'm not angry. I'm just hurt. Like, wow, really?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at with my father. And I'll keep you guys posted if anything changes. But the important thing is that I'm not going to drink over it, and I'm not going to let it affect my daily life. I was able, because of recovery and the tools that I have, I'm able to sit and analyze it and accept it for what it is. I can't change it. There's nothing I can do to change it. I can't change people, places, or things. There's nothing I can do about that. That's the thing about recovery, is that you have power. When you're in active addiction, you're powerless. But today I have power in my life. And I choose and I make the choice to be a peaceful, good man. And I make the choice to accept my father for what he is and accept my father for what he isn't. And that's where I sit with it, and that's how I rest with it.
Yeah. Yeah, the Serenity prayer poem is, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yes. And that's the prayer that I said.
Mm-hmm.
And God gave me the wisdom, I have to say, to see through it and to accept it.
Yeah. Well, Adam, you're almost 50 years old, and you've lived with this knowledge all your life, pretty much, that, your dad just doesn't want to be a dad. And that's true with a lot of people. They just don't want to be a parent, whether they intended for a pregnancy or not or whatever. They're just not meant to be good parents. And I also have a father who's the same. I met him one time in my entire life, and growing up as a teenager, I never understood why he didn't come, and why, it's my birthday, why isn't he here, or why doesn't he call me? And I've also felt that same pain that you have. But at this point in my life, my dad is still alive as well, and I could easily reach out to him, but I don't. And sometimes things are just best left to lie as they are,
I agree with you. I don't know. I was motivated to reach out because, the DNA tests and the genetic testing and the website, and I started thinking about my dad, and then I found some old pictures of my dad from when we were kids. I'm like, he's 73. Yeah. I'm going to give it a shot. Mm-hmm. I gave it a shot.
There's nothing wrong with giving it a try.
Yeah. That's the thing. I did reach out, and I got shot down.
Yeah.
So.
Well, now you know.
Now I know.
And it's not going to make your life any better or any worse with that information. You're going to go on, and you're going to be just fine. And you still have people in your life that you love and that love you.
Yes.
And it's going to still be a good life.
I agree. We have a great life. We do. But that thus far is my journey with my father and the things that I've been through with him.
That might be the end of the journey too.
That's fine. I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I've sat with it and I've accepted it, and it's an ugly thing to accept, and it's a hard pill to swallow. Even after all these years of his absence in my life, I still want my father.
Yeah, that's just a natural feeling.
You know what I mean? And so, to me, when he told me that Joe died and it was a lie, to me, he's dead. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how that sounds verbally, but in my mind and in my heart, I have closure.
Yeah. Well, and be thankful that you have that closure before he actually does pass, because now you know how he felt. You don't wonder.
Yeah.
You're not wondering, would he have wanted to talk? Now you know.
I'm telling you, if it wasn't for, I couldn't have done this in active addiction. I would have been drinking over this. And in active addiction, I probably would have ended up drinking and going to jail. That was kind of my MO. And but today I have the tools and the resources, to meet life and to face life and it's not always easy, and I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that through this, my brain didn't say, hey, we could go have a drink. Because my brain still does that. It does that to me.
Well, your brain still looks for excuses to go get a drink, but you have to realize that that's not what you need to do.
Oh, I agree.
That's just going to
100%.
lead you down a whole different road.
There's that old adage about the two dogs, the bad dog and the good dog. Whatever one you feed is the one that's going to be dominant.
Mm-hmm.
So I shoot those down and I feed the good dog.
Yeah.
But it's been a journey, and it's not an easy journey, but it's been a journey, and I'm just happy that I'm able to share it. And I don't know if anybody out there has gone through the same thing I'm going through, or has an absentee parent. If you do, know that you don't have to drink over it, and that you're not alone, because there's other people just like you, and it's going to be okay. Well, thank you for listening to the Stone Soup Recovery Podcast. You can get more episodes at stonesouprecoverypodcast.com. Listen to all our episodes. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Become a follower. We'd love to hear from you. Join our page. So with that, thank you for listening to the Stone Soup Recovery Podcast. My name is Adam.
And I'm Sean.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Stone Soup Recovery Podcast. Feel free to contact us on social media. We'd love to hear from you. You can also find more episodes and contact info at stonesouprecovery.com.